So 2024 would see the rise to the peak of the fandom, but also it would seed its own destruction by the end of the year. First of all, we had Moon 5, which came out in April. I remember at the time, actually, some of the traders I knew at the time were also getting the same haircut as Pinkie Pie. Then we had Let's Go 2 in June, and that's where really you started to see a lot of like cards being tipped on the floor. It was like kids buying whole boxes of Let's Go 1 and Let's Go 2. Now, for a while, actually, a lot of the traders believed that there wasn't going to be a Rainbow 3 and insisting, no, like, Kai's probably just ditching that product because of the lack of interest from Rainbow 1 and Rainbow 2. But for some reason, I had hoped that it would come out, and it did come out during July. And then 1 month later, Moon 6, during August. These two boxes were the peak of the cards. Most of my trading came from kids and young people during this time. A lot of like SGR swapping, UR swapping, XR swapping, everyone having folders, everyone excited, and also trading with like the older cards. And at the time also, like, Let's Go 1 by that point was selling for like almost 100 RMB for a box. Then October comes and Let's Go 3 comes out, and so does Equestria Girls. But Equestria Girls realistically just flops, and it ends up being stuck on many shelves even to today, collecting dust. There is a hardcore group of Equestria Girl fans and cosplayers in the Chinese brony community, but in the general public, that exclusive box set went down like a knackered lift. And then in December, we had Adventure 1. Now, that all sounds good, but unfortunately, that's just from Caillou at the time. While this was going on, there had also been a boom and a flooding of the market from other companies at the time, most of them producing subpar products or duplicating everything which Caillou was already doing. The only exception to this was Reese's and their large plush, and Talos Food, which was mainly candy, seaweed, and biscuits. When you bought a Talos snack, you also got either a card or a badge, and essentially they were just like a rip-off of Caillou's products, and a subpar one at that. Even Dairy Queen got in the action, where you would buy an ice cream and get a card. There were queues around the block to get into these Dairy Queens just to get a card, and these cards really were naff in comparison of what Caillou was producing. So the main competitors were Search Fund, which were producing blind pack badges and large ticket cards. There were two varieties, one in a Pinkie Pie pack, and these were really naff. Then you had these rarity pack ones, which were window cards, and actually, to be fair, these cards were better than what Caillou was producing and has ever produced. Then you had Reese's, which originally made 3 different types of large plush, from a standing plush, a laying down plush, and a mermaid plush during this year. You had Jen doing stationery, a lesser known company called KB, also trying to do badges and other things. So the market was being flooded not just with badges, but stationery, cards, everything. It put a lot of pressure on collectors, and by the end of the year, people almost had enough. 3 events happened by the end of the year which sealed the fate for the following year. The first was that parents had got lazy with their responsibilities, mainly because of the lockdowns. Any bad behaviour their children were manifesting, they just looked to blame on other people. To the point where, like, they'd lash out at Caillou, blaming them for their kids throwing rubbish on the floor and making the environment look horrible, where actually it was bad parenting. Also at the time, a few of my trader friends would get occasionally parents coming in and demanding refunds on boxes of cards their children had opened, and the children didn't get the cards they wanted and went crying to their parents to demand their money back. And the police would come and side with the shopkeepers because what did they expect? And a lot of these shopkeepers would go the extra mile that they asked the kids if they had permission to buy these products and would limit their expenditure in the shop per customer. No matter how careful some shopkeepers were, there was always some lunatic coming in every so often. No doubt this was the same sort of thing going on in the West. Second, there was a sudden rise in small independent card manufacturers, all producing different types of IPs and doing a lot of experimentation on what you would receive in a pack. A lot of them removing a lot of the sort of low-level cards, or what the children would say is laji car, junk cards, making more ethical packs. Now, I do have on my channel a privated video from back then of the end of the year, and it is named The State of My Little Pony in China, and I made 2 parts, and I talk about how the children were absolutely overwhelmed by the oversaturation of products and similar products at the time. So it's not just me looking back, I actually have like first-hand records from the time of when this happened. Unknown to most people that Kai was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. At the time, they didn't have the ability to expand outside of China, but they were working on that process internationally, later on globally. But at that time, their choices were to be eaten alive by 1,000 cuts or to fight fire with fire. But the difference was that at least with Kai's products, you were getting quality and not slop like many of these other companies. However, I think 2 products from Caillou ended up being the last nails in the coffin for many young collectors. One being the international release, or C, and here in China it was a bit of a scam really, because essentially you were paying 25 RMB a pack, which was over double the price, and really for the same cards we had here when they were also printed in China. Then it was the adventure box set, and a lot of kids just didn't understand and just saw it as being corporate greed really, because you would get a box and there was only 3 cards in there and it cost you 20 RMB. From a child's perspective, they didn't really understand the concept and just saw it as them stealing their pocket money. What I just said there wasn't really from like a perspective of being a Kai ambassador or a Kai fanboy, but actually as a first-hand observer of the children at the time and their emotional response to what was going on. For them, what was happening was that they were trying to keep up with each other, but due to the breakneck speed of all these releases, completely burnt them out by the end of the year. And it was very sad because this December was the last year that actually children would bring their folders and trade publicly with me and other people, especially on a Friday night after they finished their homework and they're out eating street food, and we'd do some trades. And it was a really good time. But this December was the last time that this was going to happen. And this really was a downhill spiral from here. So up until that point, there had been red flags. But now there actually were physical manifestations of what was to come. The older children were starting to liquidate their entire collections. This is where I managed to snap up a huge chunk of cards I missed out on from the early days.